uh, there is an assignment that we are going to give to you after the lesson, and readings and videos to watch, and also a project after that. So we are already on our fourth class, and we have lessons that we go through in understanding Israel and what's happening with them, biblically, historically, culturally, and at this time we are going to be we are going to understand anti-Semitism and an introduction to the Holocaust, which would be our next lesson next month during Rosh Chodesh Shabbat also. Right, so this is one of the, let's say, hardest, or one of the lectures that is hard to process or to go through emotionally, spiritually, because of the things that are happening in the world right now concerning Israel, in general, the Jewish population, and also spiritually, because the Bible speaks in Genesis to Revelation about the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. So for us, which are grafted into the people of Israel, a commonwealth of Israel, we are also in a way affected by what is happening with anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. Our course objectives, of course, number one again, is to communicate the love of the Messiah to the Jew and then to the non-Jew. These courses that we take in, the equipping classes, the Hebrew classes, are all integrated. So at the end of all of our lessons, we are able to communicate the love of Messiah to the Jewish people. And of course, to our fellow families, and to everyone that we meet. Number two is to serve Yeshua Messiah and to support the Jewish people, especially, of course, the Messianic community, or the believing community, and the land of Israel. Why the land of Israel? Because the land of Israel is the pupil of God's eye. Everything that happens in Israel, it would have an effect on the whole world. So we often say that the time that the tick-tock, the ticking of the clock is happening in Israel. Number three, to instill a love for the Jewish Messiah, the land of Israel, and the Torah. Number four, to instruct regarding Israel's past, the present, and the future. Number five, to provide short and long-term training in Messianic ministry. That's why I was relating to our brethren who joined us in the Hebrew class a while back. When you finish our lessons, when you finish our courses, we are able to give you a certificate of completion, and that is also a credit towards the yeshiva that we are involved with in Massachusetts, the yeshiva that we have gone to with Brother Itune. The last week, we had that United Messianic Jewish Assembly conference in Georgia, and all of these courses are embedded into their courses. So if you would like to go, if you have the calling to pursue Messianic ministry, you are able to get these courses with us, and we would be happy to support you with that certification also. And it will give you a short or long-term training in Messianic ministry. Number five, to work with, support, and partner with existing Messianic ministries. So there are many Messianic ministries all over the world, and we are a part, only a portion of that movement. Number seven, to assist in discerning a call to the ministry. These courses that we are offering are bit and pieces for every one of us to know the Bible better, to know ourselves as believers in Messiah, and of course, and to fulfill our call in sharing the message of the gospel to everyone, to the Jew first, and then to the Gentiles, to the non-Jew. So for course review, our theme for the equipping classes is to love for God, love the Messiah Yeshua, the land, love of the land and the people of Israel, and His Torah, or the Bible. Our text is Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2 and 26 to 18. The principles that we have already finished is number one, scripturally sanctioned. Why we are doing this? Because it is scripturally based. Sharing the Word of God is scripturally based. Loving the people of Israel is scripturally based. Loving God, loving the Messiah, loving the land of Israel, and loving the Torah is all scripturally sanctioned. So it is all on the Bible. Of course, it is also spiritually sensitive. There are many sensitivities that we have to be concerned of when we share the gospel to the Jewish people, and also not only to the Jewish people, but also to other individuals that needed to know the good news of the Messiah. So every culture has their own sensitivities, and we needed to be sensitive of those when we present the gospel to each and every individual. And our main topic today is, of course, knowing the sensitivities that we have to know in sharing the gospel, sharing the good news to the Jewish people. But of course, with that, as it is written in the Torah, our adversary, the devil, also has his plans, and that is what we are going to tackle this afternoon. The enemy is active, the devil is active in destroying the promises for Israel. And he would like to, even though he know that he is defeated at the end, he will always try his best also to destroy every promise that the Lord has given to Israel. So we have also finished, as we go along these courses, inculcated or joined in to these courses are steps in reaching out to your Jewish friend. Or now we are at number 3, 7 steps to reach out to your Jewish friend, or also might not be your Jewish friend, but also to any individual that you would like to share the Word of God with. This also applies to our non-Jewish friends. Of course, number 1 is to pray for them. Romans chapter 10, verse 1. We pray for them and let God do the action, because He works at the back. I think that's not a good word. He doesn't work at the back. He works, right, with all the things. He does the saving. It's not us. So we pray for them. Number 2, being spirit-filled. We need to be spirit-filled in sharing the gospel. Acts chapter 1, verse 8. Faith in the Lord is shown through us. So that is why one of our assignments, in our few last courses that we have, is to submit your testimonies, your 3-minute testimony, your 5-minute testimony, and your 10-minute testimony. Why 3 minutes? Why 10 minutes? Because at many times when we share the Word of God, or when we share the good news to other people, times may be limited. So the 3-minute testimony might be useful when we are in the train, when we are sitting down with some friend or some guy in the train station. So that would include your testimony. What was your life before? What was your life now that you have believed in Yeshua? And then how did Yeshua change your life? So those are 3 points that you put into your 3-minute testimony. Your 5-minute testimony would increase the events, increase more information. Maybe you have 5 minutes to spend with someone, so that is why you have 5-minute testimony. And then 10 minutes, right? And then maybe expand more on everything like this. So with our students who are enrolled in this class, I haven't received some of your testimonies yet. So please submit it soon as possible when you have the time to do so. Number 3, understand, of course, understanding Romans chapter 10, verse 2. And this session that we have now is one of the reason why we are going through this. The reason we have this course here is we learn where are they coming from. Why have you ever asked yourself, why is it hard to share the good news to Jewish individuals or even non-Jewish individuals, right? To non-Jewish people, why do you have a difficulty of sharing the gospel with them, sharing the love of the Messiah with them? Why they do the things that they do? And definitely, why do we see a short number of Jewish individuals that are readily showing their faith to the world that they believe in Yeshua Messiah as their Savior and Lord? Why is it hard for them to say that they are believers in Messiah? So these are the things that we are going through. So this session today is the anti-Semitism and Holocaust. So those are the two main reasons why it's very hard for our Jewish friends to readily know why they have to put on their faith in Yeshua Messiah. Although, of course, Judaism is the main faith that believes in the Messiah. They are the only religion that not religion. They are the only faith that pushes their people to believe in the Messiah. And now, of course, in another side of the balance, why was Christianity, who believes in the Christ or the Messiah, being looked upon as an enemy? So that how do we look at this situation? Knowing their history, knowing their painful history, and the travail of the Jewish people would help us understand why. Now you have to understand this if you want to understand the chosen people. You have to understand their history. You have to understand the troubles that they are going through, so that we will understand them as a people and why they are so resistant in the Jewish Messiah. Go, brother. Yes, sure, brother.
What I found is that one of the most common reasons that Jews completely reject Yeshua is because those in the Christian community that are preaching Yeshua to them, it's not just Yeshua, but it's also the Yeshua of all the Torah. And they go through Romans 13 as well as anybody, and they reject that as like, that's not possible. So there's no more discussion to have.
Mhm.
Once these two Christianity says Yeshua is the Messiah, oh, by the way, the Torah is abolished. They cannot accept that.
That's
So it registers which people say that. Never heard that. Tell me some particular quote, because I go to all kinds of churches, never heard it once. Done that, I've done that
okay.
many decades.
All right, brother Andrew.
Not once.
As let's go with the lecture so that I will show you some. Yeah, thank you, Brother Martin. I will show you some of the sources that may be involved with this kind of statements. Okay, so here, number one is the Anti-Defamation League. The Anti-Defamation League is a worldwide organization of Jewish individuals, and in 2014, they have done an study, an index of anti-Semitism survey that represents 86% of the world population. 26% of these studies, the people that they have, they involve in the study, or 26% is already 1.09 billion people. They harbor anti-Semitic attitudes. Anti-Semitic means a non-agreeable attitude towards the Jewish people. 35% have never heard of the Holocaust. And 21% think that the Holocaust is a myth or an exaggeration of history. Even right now, people might say that it never happened. It never really happened, although we have evidences all over internet and everything, and they would still say that no, that didn't really happen. It just, people just made it up, and because Jewish people control the media, so they just put it there. So kind of those, and many teach that of course it never happened. So now just think about this, that the low level of anti-Semitism, the lowest level of anti-Semitism is to destroy the mindset of individuals, or to let them know that it never really happened, that is just a lie, right? The Holocaust is a lie. And that's it. That's the lowest level. Oh, sorry. What happened? Okay. In the World Jewish Congress, another survey that they made, that in every 83 seconds, an anti-Semitic post is being uploaded to social media every 83 seconds. So that involves Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whatever, Google, and news outlets. So the rise of vandalism of Jewish cemeteries and monuments around the world is one of the very common, or let's say the very cowardliest thing that a person can do to express his anti-Semitic behavior. There are so many instances in the world right now that they would go to cemeteries and destroy the gravestones. They would paint any, let's say, graffiti on the tombstones. They would destroy. Can you imagine, the people are already dead, right? What would they do if people would go and destroy their gravestones? Nothing. It's the same thing also that is happening here in Calgary. People have the audacity to spray paint Jewish tombstones in Shaughnessy, and also they try to enter the graveyard in 22X. And there are also many different instances that in Calgary we have seen that there's spray paints in different synagogues, and even also with Messianic synagogues that we have. So again, I would say that this would be a lowliest or cowardly uh, attack to the Jewish individuals. It's an evil thing, and it's very sick. It's very sick. People are not getting nicer to Jewish individuals every day. It's getting worse. You give the here's the thing. You give the right circumstance to an anti-Semitic individual. You give him the right environment, and people will always look for a scapegoat on which to blame the world's problems. So you would say, what's happening here in Calgary? What's happening in the States, in the US? What's happening in other countries of the world? They would say, no, what the core problem is, it's the Jewish people. That's their main reason. People would always look to blame the the Jewish society, the Jewish community in this world's problem, and we could say that, of course, they are the most targeted people, Jewish people. Like here, this is a Jewish individual. It's like there's always a target on their backs. Here in 2019, ADL tabulated 2,107 anti-Semitic incidents throughout the U.S. This is a 12% increase from the 1,879 incidents that are recorded in 2018 and marks the highest number on record since ADL began tracking anti-Semitic incidences in 1979. Just a few days ago, I read in the news that there is this guy who came from Israel who is pursuing a medical course. He wants to be a physician here in Canada because, of course, Canada gives good. It's kind of a dream nation. You could do anything here in Canada. So he came from Israel. And then he was looking for a mentor physician to help him train to become a good doctor. So the mentor said, you know what? Scrap everything that identifies you are Jewish. The high school you came from, you can speak Hebrew in everything. So you would be successful in the medical community here in Canada. So, why are the Jewish people so hated? Okay, so we know about, of course, the Holocaust. Do you know that the Holocaust just didn't happen? The years that propelled the Holocaust was in Europe, right? But Europe during that time is undergoing this so-called enlightenment stage. They're becoming knowledgeable of everything. It's called Enlightenment Europe. And what happened is, of course, it started, of course, during the early 1800s too, which is where there's another term for Renaissance, right? Where the beginning of the printing press, there's religious enlightenment, everything. And Germany also was in the forefront of this enlightenment of Europe. The more educated the people is, the more sophisticated it became. But that's how I think our human nature is. The more we know, the more sophisticated that we know, the more our hearts needed to change. The more we become hardened in our hearts. Okay, so first of all, of course, Brother Martin has said a while back that there is anti-Semitism already. when a guy or an individual would say that uh, the abolishment of the Torah and believing in Yeshua would mean the abolishment of Torah, or the belief of the abolishment of Torah, or the abolishment of in a common language the Old Testament, or uh, putting it down, the five books of Moses. Now, what are the real causes for anti-Semitism? Number one, of course, is ignorance. Romans chapter 11, verse 18 to 25. Maybe I would like to ask those who have scriptures with you to help me out in here, so it wouldn't give me much time opening my Bible. So if you are at Romans 11, you could open with me, and just let me know if you're there, so you could start reading it aloud. All right, I'm there first, so I'm going to read Romans 11:18. So Romans 11:18, it says, "Do not boast over the broken branches and exalt yourself at their expense. If you do boast and feel superior, remember that it is not you who supports the root, but the root that supports you." In verse 25, let me read that one. I do not want you believers to be unaware of this mystery, that God previously, of course, didn't or hide this mystery, so that you will not be wise in your own opinion. That a partial hardening has temporarily happened to Israel until the full number of the non-Jewish individuals has come to believe in him. Okay, so what is this ignorance that I'm telling? Even believers in Messiah, even so-called Christians in the Christian community, are ignorant of the facts that God still loves the Jewish people, that God still has a plan for them, because of the commonality of the teaching that the Christian community already has changed the Jewish individuals. Like when the God's chosen people now becomes the Christian community. And that has been propagated in many of Christian in the Christian community. Let's say more in modern Christianity. God did not reject them, and as it said here in Romans chapter 11, we as believers in Messiah, we should support the root. We don't support the root. Instead, the root is supporting us. So meaning to say that we as believers in the Messiah, we are being supported by who? Of course, Yeshua, who is a Jew, who lives in Israel, who spoke Hebrew, who have talents of fringes when he was living here. He didn't abolish the Torah. He didn't fight the religion of that day. However, right now, because of course of many seminaries that have liberal ideologies and teachings, they are teaching that they are already being gone away with. The Jewish people are not important. Israel is not important. The Torah is not important. What is most important now, of course, is the New Testament, right? And there is a very prominent pastor in the United States that they say that we have to unhinge ourselves from the teachings of the Old Testament. Number two is man's depraved nature. Okay, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 3. Anyone? 1 John chapter 3, verse 10.
Ephesians 2:3. Among these unbelievers, we all once lived in the passions of our flesh, our behavior governed by sinful self, indulging the desires of human nature without the Holy Spirit as the impulses of a sinful mind. We were by nature children under the sentence of God's wrath, just like the rest of mankind.
Thank you, brother. 1 John 3:10. Thank you. Of course, so man's depraved nature. We all know that our nature is always on the side bend. We could say that our tendency is natural to do evil. The tendency for us is to fight against God. The tendency for us is to sin, and that's human nature. And because of that, we never improved to be good. Although some would say that it is inherent to man that we are good, right? Because we are the creature of God. But sometimes when we are put in a position to decide between good and evil, it is more the pull of the evil nature or the human nature pulls us to do the not good, and this is abominable to God. So even we as believers, we could say that we are capable of sin. Even though that we are believers, yes, we are able to do sin still. Now, how much more those who do not know the Lord? Would you think that their morals will be higher than us, who are believing in the God of the Bible, who do not have the spirit of Messiah living in them? Number 3, of course, the last cause for anti-Semitism is the enemy, the dragon.
When the dragon saw that he was thrown down to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child.
All right, so that would be read in a cryptic note. Who is the woman? Israel. Okay, and in here, from beginning to end, of course, from beginning to end, the enemy hates anything from God and try to destroy it. Even though, as I said a while back, even though at the end he knows that he will fail, he will always try to destroy Israel. Because God's name, why? Because God's name and the covenants are with Israel. It's always attached to them. And aside from Israel, those believers are the ones that are attached to the name of God. And he would always go after them. And of course, we know that he will not prevail, but it doesn't make him stop in trying to destroy everything, to destroy them. How? So these are 3 schemes of the enemy. Is how the enemy would do it. Number 1, of course, the enemy will always take advantage of people who doesn't know God. Number 1, of course, is anti-Semitism. Number 2, anti-Zionism. Number 3, anti-nationalism. Although both of these, number 2 and 3, we would be discussing this later on, because this would give differing opinions. But I would go first with anti-Semitism. And we'll focus on anti-Semitism first. So what is anti-Semitism? Historically, the definition of anti-Semitism is hatred or prejudice or discriminatory attitudes that are directed against the Jewish people as a race or ethnic group. Okay, so I think by now you would know what I mean. What are the in the Bible, in the Torah? Open with me Esther chapter 3 verse 8 to 9, and this is a very classic example, and this is not even in modern times. So let's go to Esther chapter 3 verse 8 and 9. Yes, for sure, Brother Andrew.
Yeah, with this cell phone, finding Bible verses takes a while, but I did get to that one.
Okay.
Okay, so Esther chapter 2, verses 8 and 9.
Yes.
Then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of all other people, and they do not observe the king's laws. So it is not in the king's interest to let them remain. If it is pleasing to the king, let it be decreed that they be destroyed, and I will give 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who carry on the king's business to put into the king's treasuries.
Okay, so thank you very much. All right, I'll let you put a mark on these words. Number one, there are certain people. So now the people are identified. Their laws are different. And because they have different laws, they do not comply. Last one, of course, he says, because they do not comply with our laws, then the only thing that we need to do is to eliminate them. So that is the anti-Semitic progression. Once we identify the ethnic group. So in here, what did Haman identify? The Jewish people. They have laws that are different. They have the Torah. And of course, our laws are different from them, so they are not complying with this world's laws. The only thing, and there are so many. What do we need to do? Is to eliminate them. Now, how is anti-Semitism manifested over the years from this one? So number one, of course, the people, the certain people, the Jewish people, they don't have no right to live as Jews. Not U.S., us, AS, to live as Jews. So we identify them already, right? We have made an identification that these people, the Jewish people, we distinguish them, we identify them. They don't want to be like us. What do we need to do with them? Eliminate them. So that's the, as I said, anti-Semitic progression. The number one is they have no right to live as Jews. How? So they need to stop to be Jewish, or we need to stop them to be Jewish. So here is how the progression was made in history. So the Catholic Church, of course, or maybe before pre-Christianity, 300 years before that, we would see already the anti-Semitism. When there are Jewish individuals, they would hate them eventually. Even in the New Testament, you would see already the Roman oppression of the Jewish people, and then towards the end. So that is why, of course, AD 70 they came and conquered Jerusalem. They destroyed the temple, and so they forcefully convert Jewish individuals to the religion of that day. So you remember the conquest of Babylon, right? So that's throughout history. If either the Babylonians wanted them to be Babylonians, and then throughout history, of course, the Roman Roman Empire became the dominant religion at that time. So they forced them to be Catholics. So even now, Jewish people think of all. That's why all Christians, in the eyes of the Jewish people, they think that all Christians are Catholics. So they have that seemingly negative thing on all Christians. They see it like, oh, it's negative already. So also the theological error that we see here is when all Jews are baptized, they become Catholics. The Bible, they use this one as their go-to verse, that when all Israel will be saved, this all Israel will be saved, that they will all convert all Jewish people into Catholics, and then the Messiah will come. Right? When Jesus comes back from Jesus will come back when all Jews become Christians, which is of course a lie. Jesus will come back, Yeshua will come back if many Jews will believe in Yeshua or not. He will come back, and that is a certainty. Number 2, of course, there's forced Catholic conversions and baptisms by sword. We see that this is during the Inquisitions, right? This is the why there is world domination, because of the Catholic conversions. And of course, it is church sanctioned in the Inquisitions. The start of the Inquisitions is not really to wipe away the Muslim presence in Israel, but while the Inquisitions are going to Israel, all of the Jewish individuals that they would pass through, all the villages and towns, they would wipe them all. And then the final Inquisition would be the wiping of the Muslim presence in Jerusalem. So, number 2, the Jewish people, they don't have no right to live among us. So with this one, they would banish and they would confine Jewish individuals into the earliest, let's say, the ghettos or the pogroms. Even during the early Tsarist Empire, there were already areas in Russia where they bring in Jewish individuals to banish them or to confine them in their area. And they said, of course, we don't bother them, they don't bother us. But it didn't really happen. See, that's the plot. If you have watched the Fiddler on the Roof, that's the plot of the Fiddler of the Roof movie. They confine them to ghettos. They are expelled from their towns that they call, even though they bought the land, they farmed there. They were blamed for, as we said, they were blamed for all the ills and the problems of society. In 1492, of course, Columbus, right? We remember Columbus that sailed the ocean free. But of course, we know also that Columbus was a Jew. And he has a reason why he joined the expedition to go and look for other countries or lands, because he wanted to go and look for a new Canaan land for the Jews during that Spanish Inquisition. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, of course, they kicked all the Jews out of Spain. They didn't know that Columbus was a Jew. We have several letters that Columbus sent to his son that has inscribed letters, and there's a signs of Jews, Bravo, Beth, and Hey on top of the letter, and it says Baruch Hashem on top of his letter. So that's a sign that he is a Jew, and that's how we always send out letters too, Baruch Hashem, on the right side or on the points of our letter. So now, even though, and then of course, we remember Martin Luther, right? The great reformer, who has a changed attitude when he reformed from the Catholic Church, when he put his 99 Theses in the door of, what is that church again? I forgot. Wittenberg, yes. 1517. And he was, of course, he was thinking that he became the propagator of the doctrine of, came out of my mind, justification of faith, right? The very theology that pushed Reformation and started the whole Reformation in the European area. He was thinking that, of course, that if the doctrines of the Catholic Church would be exposed, then the Jewish people will be more open to the good news, to the gospel. But when they resisted this theology of justification by faith, Martin Luther got mad at them. So he published already the book concerning the Jews and their lies in 1543. And that started the advocacy. Yeah, go ahead. And that started the advocacy of the destruction of Jewish homes and synagogues, and as well as, of course, the expulsion of the Jews from Germany. So he said that so that you and we may all be free of this inseparable devilish burden, the Jews. And that's in his book. This is a wrong attitude. And he has a wrong attitude, although, of course, he started the Great Reformation. But that is a very wrong attitude. And also, of course, you know what? You can love the Lord. But if you have a wrong attitude, it's still a lie. It's still wrong to do so. This attitude was used by Adolf Hitler, this justification, to terminate the Jews years later. Number 3, the Jews have no right to live. That's the final solution, right? To exterminate them. That's why the first crusades in Metz, France, of the Roman Catholic massacre of Jews in France, and then went through the Middle Ages, the bubonic plague, and the blood libel. The Jews was, of course, as I have said a while back, people would always look for someone to blame with all of the problems of the world. And during that time, they have a problem with diarrhea. They have a problem with sickness in medieval Europe, and all of these things. And they don't know how to, with all of their good doctors and whatever scientists, they can't find a solution. So what did they do? They blamed the Jews. They blamed the Jews that they were trying to poison the wells, the rivers, the lakes of Europe. And that's why here they blame it for the Black Death. And do you know why also that they designed the Black Death like this, the long nose? because Jews have long nose, right? And they connected that with that. And then, of course, the blood libel. The blood libel was this blood libel. It started beforehand, before medieval Europe. They accused the Jews of kidnapping children and getting their blood, and used this to make matzah during Passover. Do you remember that in Passover we drink cups, 4 cups, and they said that where do they get this blood? Lots of blood. So they said that they're kidnapping children, and they're mixing it up in their holidays. And even at this time, that is the propaganda of the Hamas, or the Islamic religion right now, the blood libel, that they are after, that the Jews are bloodthirsty. They get the blood of children of Muslim children, and they mix it up during Passover and cook it in the matzah. It's a lie. And of course, the ultimate final solution is when Hitler came. When Hitler read the publication of Martin Luther, this became, as we said a while back, give the people and give the governing authority the right environment, the right situations, and they would do these things. So what did they do? Of course, in Poland, and the trains, they gathered all of the Jewish peoples, individuals, and Holocaust, right? And that happened. One thing that people don't really understand is the German people at that time, the Nazi Reich, would like to make experiments on the Jewish people. So that is why they separated women, men, young, old, blonde, black, the eyes, good teeth, everything. They made. Do you know what is the reason why they put them in the ovens? Because they would like also to collect the fat that comes from the body, and they would like that to be used as soap. The skin, they would like to make it into a lampshades. The hair. Do you know why they collected the hair? It's not that they have the hair. What do you call? No, they don't have lice. It's not that they have lice, but they wanted the hairs to be processed as pillows in exchange for downs. So, how do you like, or how do you feel using those soap? Yeah, right? It's evil. Now let's see. If you have never read or studied or flipped over some of the books that are written in Holocaust, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. What we know right now, what is being taught in the universities, in the schools, is just a portion of it. It's just nothing. But it shows us it shows us that the depravity of man's heart. And of course, Germany at that time was a solid Catholic country. That is why when the trains come, the Protestant churches, they put their organs at loud sound, so that when the trains are coming, toot, toot, oh no, here are the Jews coming, let's sing. Right? Let's sing louder. Let's sing louder. I know a guy, Michael, who is already old, and he was joining us before in here. And when he was a young boy, he heard those sounds coming, the sounds of the trains, and the church put their organs also to high-pitched tones. Go, Christian soldiers, marching us to war. Silent Night too. Yeah. So what good that came out of it? So right now, probably you would understand the thinking. What is to the Jew? What is in his mind right now, right? If we share the good news, because he thinks of us believers in Yeshua as Catholics, and the Catholics were the Protestants, also the Christian community at the time. Where were they? Where is God during the Holocaust? Right? That's what they were always thinking. That's what they were thinking. But of course, there are people also during that time. We might remember Corrie ten Boom and the others during that time, right? But yeah, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, it's not the majority. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what good came out of it? God preserved them. God still preserved them. God opened a door for them. This is the start of the rebirth of the nation of Israel, right? We know that Hitler failed, but God did not. What we see here is man did this horrible thing. It's because of the heart. Man, in his depraved nature, in his depraved condition, did all of these things. That is why we can say that we needed the Messiah. That's why we needed the Savior. That's why we needed to grasp on the promises of the Torah. Because the human heart is wicked. We are desperately deceived from all of this. Right? So this is the scheme of the world, the anti-Semitism right now. We have identified the Jews. They don't follow what we do. They have no right to live as Jews. They have no right to live among us. They have no right to live. That's the final solution. So here in Lamentations chapter 1 verse 12, it says there, "Is it nothing to you, all you who pass by, behold and see, if there is sorrow like my sorrow?" Meaning to say, now we are looking at the sorrows of Israel, how they are going through. Is it nothing for us? Are we just going to stand by and see what they're going through? Okay, so the question is, this happened. It's happening again. And it's going still to be happening. It's going to happen. And what are we going to do? What are we doing behind the scenes or up front and as a congregation too? Now, the results of anti-Semitism in general, this includes the Christian and Messianic communities, the whole world. The results of anti-Semitism is, of course, the misconceptions and stereotypes that still exist and being propagated. What are these misconceptions? What are these stereotypes? That all Jews are the same. All right? Can you identify a Jew when you are in a crowd? Are you able to identify them? Of course, number one, you would say, oh, he has that, Jewish nose. He looks like a Jew. Maybe if we know the names, his surname would be Cohen or Steinberg or Silver or yes. These are like automatic things already to know that they are Jews, right? However, not all Jews look like Jews. We have Jews from we have Jews from all colors already. We have Jews from China. We have Jews from Americas, the Americas. We have Jews from South America. We have Jews from Canada. We have Jews all over the world. Ethiopian Jews, yes, Ethiopian Jews. Many nations in Africa identify to be Jews, and they do not all look alike. So we cannot say that, oh, these are Jews, and we segregate them and everything. And of course, number two, all Jews are rich. Is it? Of course, that's not true. There are, of course, Jewish individuals who are rich. They become successful in their professions. They become good doctors. They become good lawyers. They become good bankers. They become they have actors in Hollywood that are Jews, and they're very prominent individuals. But not all of them are rich, right? I have been volunteering with the Jewish community for a long time, and I have delivered food to Jewish people in the city. And I've seen, of course, many people that are rich. They donate large sum of money to the University of Calgary for the cancer research center and everything. They're wealthy, but there are also individuals who are not that rich. And let us of course all people look different. All of us too look different, right? And not all people are rich. Not all people. Here's the thing too. That because Jewish individuals are good bankers, that they sometimes I heard this word that they can cheat you out of your money. Like some individuals who work for big companies like that slaughterhouse south of Calgary. He said, because it's owned by the Jewish people, by a Jew, so they're pushing us to work and work and work and work, because they don't care about the people. They just wanted the money. So that's a stereotype. That's a misconception, and we don't keep them all in the same category. Here, do you remember this one? Of course, this is a postcard in the 1910, and it's during this period, many postcards and businesses were propagated because at that time, they own Jewish people earned most of the jewelry shops, and people would go often there and give their gold, and they exchange money from there, and they say, oh, such a business. Jews will get money from you, right? You see the nose, you get an open hand, and you see that devilish smile. That's a propaganda, right? They have that long nose, the hands out, the devilish smile. All they care about was your money. they would get your money out of you. And that's where the word uh, Jew, or you're a Jew, right? So when you try a business uh, transaction with someone and you like to get something out of that person, he would say, "You're Jewing me," right? Because of that. Jews control the world. Okay, all Jews are the same. All Jews are rich, and Jews are in control of banks, media, commerce, and the government. Right? They're good in finances, so that's why they Rothschild, right? Rothschild was the biggest banker in Europe. So he said that they controlled the whole world. They controlled commerce. They controlled everything. Media. In the States, Facebook now, of course, it's owned by a Jew. Most of our apps in our phones are Israeli made, and commerce and the government. You see, they always connect the U.S. to Israel. What's happening all over the world is because of the Jews. So yes, you know, we blame all the Jews because of all of this. But no, that's a lie. That's a conspiracy theory. Here, see, this is in the 1898. This poster was brought out in 1898. The Rothschild become the family here was portrayed as craving the world domination. And it didn't end in 1898. This is our typical modern caricature right now, that the Rothschild now controls the world, so he has all of these countries drinking from his milk. And it's a misconception, right? Of course, all of these misconceptions came originally to these two books. These two books, it came from an anti-Semitic publication that is put out in earlier 1900s, earlier 1800s. They are put out by this one, by the Okhwana, or the Tsarist secret Russian police in earlier 1800s. And this one is it's German. It's translated into German, but there's another one that is written in Russian, which is the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's published in German in 1881, but there is a publication that is written earlier in Russian. And this is before the communist Russia. And Russia was, of course, during at that time, Russia was going into a deep economic depression, and people were poor. People were looking for something and somebody to blame. And of course, they pointed their fingers to the Jewish people. Now, this book portrays that there is a secret association of Jewish organizations conniving and secretly planning to take over the government. First in Russia, and then, of course, world dominion. The banks, they would have control of the media all over. It's a lie. And then, of course, this one, it went to America. And there's another one after this. There's a book that is published by Henry Ford. It was written to, of course, redirect the anger, the steam of dissatisfaction of the people on their current leadership of government. And during that time, this time is the Tsarists of Russia. And of course, it was spread throughout the world. And even today, this one, you would have a PDF material of this in Google. And this is one of the books that Hamas has put into their constitutional bylaws, or what do you call that? The charter of the Hamas government, that of this, because they believe that Israel is conniving of everything and would have control over the world. The protocols of the learned elders of Zion. You could download that in the internet easily, and if you would go into the charter, right, the charter of Hamas, then they would be mentioning this book, and that's why the reason of their bloodthirsty of Israel. And this is proving, of course, that the Jews are trying to take over the world, and that's where the word occupiers come from. Right? If they would like to dominate the world, then they occupy a certain land or a country. Now in the U.S., of course, this one, in the 1930s, Henry Ford, the industrialist, of course, he read the protocols, and then he republished an American version. It's called Dearborn Independent. So every Ford company during that time have a copy of this. Every dealer, agent of the Ford company needs to learn this Dearborn Independent copy. So he disseminated it to all of his dealers, and to give an extra copy to people who would be buying the car, buying a car. So the enemy, of course, everyone has a copy during that time. So that's why it said here that every patriotic American must read this protocol. And people believed it. But of course, later in life, Henry Ford apologized. But it was too late already. The damage has been done. And even at this time, people in the United States believed on this. That's why all of social media is filled with hatred to Jewish individuals. All lies, all fake, yet people believe it. That's why we said, right? If you repeat it all the time, you repeat it, it becomes true. But it's time for us to learn and not ignore it. Right? Of course, letter D, Jews are to be blamed for the death of Christ. Right? In the Bible, it says, who killed Christ?
No one.
Yes. If we go to Acts chapter 4, verse 27, it would say all there who are those supposed to be blamed. No one, but of course all of us are implicated. The Jews, the non-Jews, and everyone. The Jews did not kill Christ only. But if we blame anybody, it's all of us. Both of us, Jews and Gentiles, needed Christ. And that is the reason why he came down to die for us. Who is really to blame? Us. Because it's us who sinned. It's us who brought his love to the cross. Right? In Europe, there is a practice, I think it's here. In Europe, there is a practice during Lenten season, during Holy Week, that they would seek out a Jewish individual in the community and bring him out and slap him in the face during Holy Week, because they are to be blamed in killing Jesus Christ. And for many in history also, Jewish people in Europe has to use, the horned hats to identify them as Jews. So the idea of Hitler putting a star on the Jewish people during Holocaust is not original. It was in medieval Europe still, because they are considered to be the devil's children, from the book of Martin Luther, marking them like, rounding them up in the Holocaust. Hitler didn't come originally with that. And as we said, you know why he was nearly successful? Because he has the machinery. Hitler has the machinery in doing things. He has that technology at the time to do it. He has the people at the time to do it. What was the situation? People were so down. They were just after a depression, right, during World War I. And somebody has to be blamed on all of this. So he blamed it on the Jews. And the situation at the time, why they said that the final solution, right? Why do they term it final solution? So that the problems of this world will all be gone when the Jewish people will all be exterminated. So with this attitude, we can never have if we have this attitude, we'll never have a love for the Jewish people, and nor to anybody. It will always hinder us in our motivation for witnessing. So what we can learn here, if you hate a people, if you will hate somebody, if you will hate an individual, you would never have the compassion nor the love to share the gospel with that individual, because you hate him so much, right? You wanted him to go to hell. That's how blocking the grace of God to them. Now the assumption, of course, that Christians hated the Jews, the belief that Christians hates the Jews, the reason why it is difficult for Jewish people to feel welcome and accepted into, let's say, common Christian or westernized Christianity right now, is because of the predominant thinking that we are killing their souls. That the Catholic religion brought them the Holocaust, the Protestant religion brought them the Holocaust, and even right now, that is why they wouldn't even step foot on a Christian church, because of this misconception. We have our misconceptions, they have their own misconceptions too. And we needed to bridge that misconceptions. And how, of course, churches, even right now, I don't know if there are churches that are openly non-welcoming to Jews. They are coming in, Jews come in the church because they don't want to be identified as Jews. But if they identify as Jews, then there might be a big problem out of that, because of the misconception that Jews killed Christ. Right? They are Christ killers.
I'm sure there are bad people.
Yes.
There are
Yeah.
some very prominent Christian churches that I've seen, particularly in the States, where they are openly preaching hatred towards the Jews because God hates Jews.
Mm-hmm.
They're to hate Jews also.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound like a Christian church to me. Well,
Mm-hmm. Sure. Go ahead, brother.
just a couple of quick comments, if you don't mind, brother. When you look at, rather than the Jews being leeches and, money grubbers and control and all, take a look at how many Nobel Prizes have been awarded to a Jew.
Hmm.
Nobel Prizes in science, peace, art, literature, medicine, on and on and on it goes. Dozens and dozens. Huh? Economics, yeah, all of them. So only 9 million
Mm-hmm.
have won more Nobel Prizes than any other identifiable group.
Yeah, that's right.
You know how many Muslims have won Nobel Prizes?
One
The-
1%.
The group that hates the Jews and wants them dead, the Antisemitic Jews,
Mm-hmm.
10. Okay. And they've got 1 point how many billion. So, just a quick point. Second point, the United Nations, when it was formed in 45, it has, we think it's a perfect place to visualize the hatred of Jews, because the United Nations has issued more condemnations
Mm.
of Israel than every other nation on earth combined together. The United Nations is corrupt as corrupt.
That's right.
And last one is something to consider. You had a slide up here that says, what is the reason for anti-Semitism? I'd like to suggest that there was 3 listed there. I'd like to suggest that there's actually a 4th. Because if you read the book of Deuteronomy, particularly chapter, let's say, 28, God makes it very clear. He's talking to Israel as a nation,
Mm.
not as individuals, but as a nation. God makes it very clear. If you obey my instructions, these are the blessings that you will see. If you disobey my instructions, these are the curses that will come upon you.
Mm.
And if you read the curses, what we've seen, certainly for over 2,000 years, almost 3,000 years, let's say 2,600 years, those curses is exactly what the Jews have experienced around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what God said would happen. Because I don't think any of this could take place if God ultimately was not orchestrating it.
That's right.
So, today, are the Jews as a nation obedient to God's instructions?
No.
Some are. Not many.
Mm.
The vast minority. Right? It's a very secular nation.
Mm.
And I think that we can't lose sight of that. It's not like, God is controlling what's going on, including anti-Semitism. And I think to a large extent, that is a big part of the reason why.
That's right. That's right.
The biggest question that Jews actually have, why you God allow the Holocaust?
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about human impressions from Jews,
Mm.
from Christians. There is a position, but we have to talk about God's position,
That's right.
not about us, not about other God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
I wanted to say something like brother Andrew's objection. I kind of understand the fact where it's kind of coming from, in the sense that sometimes Semitism is not
Openly.
it's not open, but it's not it's covert, right? It's kind of built into the teaching, right? So for example, some of the teachings and the beliefs. So for example, the teaching of the rapture. The belief is that because the Jews rejected Christ, they will be left behind in the tribulation, and they will suffer the time of Jacob's trouble, right? So the faithful believers and the Christians will be taken away in the rapture, and the Jews will be left behind to suffer in the great tribulation. Such a teaching, for example, is anti-Semitic, but it's not in your face.
That's right. Okay, so we have a few minutes left, and I would just like to go through this, and then we will continue our discussions later. Our ONEG will be coming after this one, so it would be nice to, sit down and talk together of these ones. Of course, number one, our response to anti-Semitism. Let us all be informed, right? That, of course, how are we being believers in Messiah Yeshua? We need to walk by faith in spirit. Walking by faith in spirit, of course, we don't propagate prejudiced attitudes toward the Jews or to anybody that is different from us. Let us be informed on how the biblical role of Jewish people in ecclesiology and the world to come. What is their role? So, of course, as Brother Etone was mentioning a while back, because of the doctrine of dispensationalism, this one has been thwarted in many of the pulpits right now. And we are instigating hate to the Jewish people because of the teaching of the hardcore dispensationalists. Another one, let us be sensitive and improve our relational ways in sharing the good news to the Messiah. So that's why when you go to your dentist, you go to your medical doctor, you know that he is a Jew, then look for ways to be sensitive in showing that you care for their souls too, right? You can, we are the distributors of Jewish Bibles, Hebrew Bibles here in Alberta, and you could just let me know if you needed something, that you go visit your dentist, you go visit your doctor. Leave a Tanakh, leave a like a Hebrew Bible in the office, and those are discreet ways to show the gospel to them. Also, let us be knowledgeable and proactive on dangers of stereotyping. So we know that there are many people who hate the Jews out there and would just spew out words against them. But if we come to be in contact with them, we can help in letting them know, in understanding the Jews, that not all Jews are the same, right? Not all Jews are leeches. Not all Jews are money grabbers or whatever. Number two, let us participate in and support constructive political, social, religious actions that combats anti-Semitism. We have organizations here in Calgary that are open to individuals who are non-Jews so that we could stand with Israel. As long as we have freedom, we do have a voice. But if our freedom has been taken away from us, then we don't have a voice already. We need allies that are self-controlled in the spirit and speaking the truth in love. So here is a quote from Martin Niemöller. He's a Lutheran pastor, 1892 to 1984. He said, "In Germany, they came first for the communists. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for the trade unionists. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for Catholics. I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me. And by that time, no one was left to speak up." Right? And that's our onus. The onus is on you. The onus is on us. Proverbs 24:11 to 12. In closing, what do you have your Bibles with you? Open that with me. Okay, let me know if you are there. And of course, yeah. Okay, just a few minutes. Proverbs 24. I think I needed to change my Bible already. The lights here are big one. 24 verse 11 and 12. "Rescue those who are being taken away to death, and those who stagger to the slaughter. Oh, hold them back from their doom. If you claim ignorance and say, 'See, we did not know this,' Does he not consider it who weighs and examines the hearts and their motives? And does he know it who guards your life and keeps your soul? And will he not repay you and every man according to his works? You see? So, ignorance is not an excuse. God will evaluate us according to our works, according to our love for Israel, according to how we see Israel, how we deal with the Jewish people by how they're being treated, how they're being persecuted, how they're being killed right now, what's happening in Israel, the many wars that they are going through. And if we do nothing, God will hold us accountable to that we haven't done nothing to them, right? According to Proverbs 24. And lastly, of course, we need to share the good news of the Messiah to them. It says in our Bibles that, of course, to the Jew first and then to the Gentiles. We give them the hope, we give them the promise of their Messiah, that the life is good, right? And Jews will think that, of course, I don't know if you have thought of this too, that sharing the gospel to them would be the most anti-Semitic thing that you would ever do with them, right? With the reasons that we have said a while back, with Jews being Christ killers, that they would say, oh, you would cause them. Actually, one of the things that I heard with anti-missionaries, anti-missionaries means Jewish people, Jews for Judaism, or Jewish people who would try to prevent people in sharing the good news to Jewish individuals, is they said that you would be killing the soul of the Jewish individual. Because if they believe in the Jewish Messiah, which is Yeshua Messiah, then their Jewishness would be removed from them. So you would be killing the Jewish soul in them. And haven't you noticed, if you are in the mind, stand back and think that you are a Jew right now. If you think of Jesus Christ now, you being a Jew, then you would think that Jesus would be the reason of all your troubles. Right? If you're a Jew. That is why the Bible also says that Yeshua Messiah is the stumbling block. Right? Because when we come to that point, everything will be different when we see Yeshua to be our Messiah. See? But of course, for us, we know differently. And these are groups that look for people like us, hatred. And they will learn about us. People, they're surrounding us are Jewish people. And we are concerned about their salvation, about them knowing their Messiah. But they would also be concerned about us, because they know in their minds, with these misconceptions, that we are a threat to them, because we would be making every effort to share the gospel with them too. And I would like to encourage you to join us. Learning Hebrew is a step towards that, right? Learning how to say shalom to a Jewish individual shalom, right? You know the word. Then it would have the barrier between you and them would be open in sharing the good news. And we need you to be an ally and support them, because in this we are following what the Bible has been prophesied to us and to them also. All right, so shalom, everyone. That's the end of our lesson. If you like to receive the additional readings, additional movies that I'm going to send to of this course, send me your email and I will send it to you. And there are also projects that you needed to do, like visiting a Jewish cemetery in Calgary and see. Just look around and see. Or I'll give you some tips on how to attend a Jewish synagogue and how to be acceptable in this synagogue, how to talk to them with sensitivity and everything. So if you're interested, let me know and I'll give you all of this information. Let us close our Eunice, could you change the? Let's close our service today. Let's all stand up and let us say.